Good evening and welcome to Let's Talk Red. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us tonight. I am Yolanda Niels, the founder of the Red Panty Society, and tonight we're going to have a great conversation about how to have fun in the sun from extraordinary life coach Wilma Lee. She is from Full Bloom Services, trained through InterVision's Institute of Spiritual Development, which is under Iyanla Van Zant. And she's amazing. She's an amazing life coach that I actually do some work with, and she's one of our new Red advisors that you can find on our website, www.theredpantysociety.com. And if you have questions, she's got answers on a daily basis. You can go to the website and ask a question, or tonight you can come and ask a question and she'll respond live. So we want to welcome Coach Wilma Lee, and go ahead and get your question started. And you get 1 hour of free life coaching. So here we go. And so, good evening, Wilma. How are you this evening?
I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
Thank you so much for joining us. Great conversation that we're going to have tonight. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our viewing audience, and hopefully they'll be preparing their questions for you once you get a chance to introduce who you are, the kind of work that you do, and how they can contact you.
Sure, sure. First of all, I'm a coach, and my business is Full Bloom Services, and I want to say thank you for having me here. And it's Full Bloom Services because I love to garden, and I believe that people are like plants. What you flower, when you feed them, they grow and they respond to that. So they just need sun, a little love, just like plants and flowers. So I'm a coach. I offer coaching. I'm a Reiki practitioner. I do grief work, intuitive consulting, and coaching in all areas of your life, and meditation work practices. So a whole gamut. And I'm reachable through my website, www.fullbloomservices.com. And on Twitter, Wilma at Full Bloom Info is my email, and at Twitter I'm Full Bloom Info. So thanks, and I see that we have a question here, and it looks like, what's the difference between coaching and counseling? Great, a good question. A lot of times with counseling, the counselor will help you to evolve to the question or evolve to what's going on through your life, and sometimes advise you. Coaching is different in the sense we're going to help you pull what's inside of you, because a lot of times we have the answers that we need inside of us. We just need a little help with them. But also the coach, it's like having a personal trainer for your life. You know, sometimes we join the gym and we get personal trainers. The same is true about life coaching, a personal trainer for your life. If you want to set goals, you want to work at forgiveness, you're dealing with some grief, you want to move forward, you got a major life change adjustment, or you just want to be a better person, you want to have more joy in your life. Coaching can help with all of those areas. You want to eat a little healthier, you want to exercise, just any goals you want to achieve, a coach can help you do that. And as your coach, I'm going to be like your number one fan. A coach is going to always tell you the truth and be honest, but we're going to hold you accountable, especially me, to what it is that you say you want to achieve. Definitely, definitely.
That's a great question, and I'm glad that it was asked because a lot of people are used to therapy or counseling in other formats, but not necessarily life coaching. And we're on a mission to make life coaching more popular and prominent in the general public. So thank you for breaking down, because what really helps us advance and move forward in our lives is having a personal coach, is having somebody by our side that's there to push us and remind us of what we said we wanted to do. So thank you for answering that. I think we got another question here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the question is, I'm 41 and I have issues with holding grudges. How can you help me with that? Like being stuck in my ways, can you help me change? And I would say acknowledgement is the first stage of healing, and it's the first step. And for a person holding grudges, I would ask, where are you not forgiving yourself? You can hold a grudge, but how do you hold yourself in esteem? You can forgive others, but sometimes when we hold grudges, we also do not forgive ourselves. So what's going on and where is it? But also forgiveness. Because a lot of times when you hold a grudge, that person moves on with their life and you have the grudge, and sometimes they don't even know. And I've had people hold grudges and be angry so long that they have forgotten what they're even angry about. So absolutely, we can work with that. And the person has asked, can you help me want to change? Now that comes from within, because acknowledgement is the first stage of healing and it's the first step, but you have to want it and you have to be willing. You have to be willing.
That was definitely another great question, because women in particular walk around with grudges for a long time, and it transfers from person to person. So they might be mad at something that their dad did or didn't do when they were a child, and it shows up with them being mad and holding that grudge, and it coming out on their spouse or their in their personal relationships or with their friendships and things of that nature. So that is definitely a good area to deal with a life coach in regards to how to get back to the core of what it is you're really angry about, so that you can forgive yourself and forgive, the others, and move on without having that show up repetitively in your life with other people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because a lot of times, a lot of people walk around angry, and there's some people, the anger is embedded so deep within them, they sometimes don't know what they're angry about. And we just have to work through that, like peeling away the layers of an onion, and we work and get down to, wow, here it is right here, the root of the anger. And as you said, it can stem back as early as childhood. But you want to be careful about holding anger. There's a book, Anger Kills, because you can begin to take that on in your body, and then you have physical symptoms. So it's not ever, never a good thing to carry anger around with you. Anger is not a good companion for anyone.
Well, tell us some more about Full Bloom Services while we're waiting for others to tune in with their questions. Tell us where you located and how did you get into life coaching,
I'll tell you,
Coach
I'm
Lee?
located, I'm located in Maryland, like in the Washington, D.C. metro area. I also coach, I don't coach via Skype, but I coach via telephone as well. I got into it because I will tell you, ever since I can remember, people always talk to me. They come to me with their darkest secrets, their deepest secrets. They come because I have always been a good listener. And going to intervisions kind of, it helped me to fine tune that, because a lot of times what I've noticed is people are so anxious to want to give advice. And people are so judgmental. I listen to people, I listen to my clients and people in a non-judgmental form. And then we talk about it. But also with a coach, I always ask my clients, well, what do you want? And I don't judge them and don't tell them, well, this is what you should do, this is what you should want. We talk about what you want, and then we work at getting there and establishing that. So how I work, usually my first session is free because when we establish a relationship, and we're going to talk for about 45 minutes. And we talk, and then we come up with where you want to work in your life, what area, what you want to do, and we go from there and focus on how to move forward. And that's what we do. I also am highly intuitive, and I use that with my coaching. That benefits me tremendously in the sense that we can get right to the heart of it. Often I'm able to get right to the heart of the matter of what's going on with my clients, what's going on in their lives, and what they're carrying, so that I can help them put that baggage down. We can just put the baggage down, heal, and move forward.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We are working with people trying to find out how to ask the questions. So give me one quick second so I can navigate this. Um,
Sure.
I'll be right with you. Hold on. A question that's being asked right now is how long should a person work with a life coach? Is there a traditional amount of time that a person works with a life coach, or is it just by case, like one session and it's over? How long are your average sessions with clients?
Well, wow, that's a really good question, and that's going to depend from coach to coach. Generally, I will ask my clients, Give me 30 days. Give me 30 days. Because once a week, generally we talk once a week, 30 days, and some people work with their coaches for months. I have clients who I work with for several months. I don't, sadly, I can say I have any clients, and not sadly, joyously, that I work with for years. Most of my clients, it's under a year, and we move forward. We get where we want to go. Now, they may come and check in or have a follow-up session and a check-in session, but usually with my clients, give me at least 30 days so you can begin to see a change in your behavior and just some of the healing that's going on in your life. Because I have a group, Jewels in the Garden, and I told the women when we first met, it's a healing group for women, like a healing circle, and I told one of the women, 6 months from now, you're going to see a tremendous change in your life. And she laughed. And it's been a year, and she said, Wilma, I cannot believe that. I didn't believe you. I laughed, and I'm totally different. So there is going to be a shift to occur, but I always ask, give me at least 30 days. Now, I see a question here saying, do you work with boundary issues? And what quick steps could you give me to begin to set up boundaries around saying no to my family and friends? Well, the one thing about that, establishing your boundaries, I tell people, is like it's like drawing a line in the sand and not stepping across that. Quick boundary steps are like, what do you want? What is it that you want, and what can you hold to? If you say no, then no. You have to honor what you're saying to yourself. Because when you say yes and you want to say no, that's not self-loving at all. Then what happens then, we begin to get angry. And then sometimes we take that out on other people. So one thing I say what you feel, but in the most loving way possible. If you really want to say no, then just, you know what, I can't do that right now. If you have trouble saying no, you can just say, I can't do that right now, and not feel guilty, because a lot of people feel guilty when they say no. Just forgive yourself. Because sometimes you judge yourself as, well, I'm a bad person. I can't be everything that everyone wants me to be. I can't do it all. And no, you can't. And you may kill yourself trying. So just don't feel guilty. Be a little easy on yourself when you say no. And if it's okay to say, I can't do that. So let me say that for you again. It's okay to say no, or to say, I cannot at this time. And if they get angry, just apologize and tell them that you love them, but you have to move on. Because sometimes people use anger as manipulation. And they will say, well, if you love me, and they get angry, and then there you are manipulated. So self-preservation, take care of you, and if you cannot, I cannot. And here's another question. I don't like talking to people that have not been through the things I have been through. Do you use your own testimonies to coach? Well, let me say this. I find that sometimes people don't want to talk to people who have not gone through what they've been through. I use what's called sharing. It's a technique where it's just personal sharing. I will share something with people from my life as a testimony, because sometimes that helps people. Helps people to helps people to feel a little more connected to you, because when you're seeking a coach or you're talking to a coach, you're not really sure, and you want to connect. You want to make sure that you're heard, that you're being heard and understood. And so sometimes I do use personal experience, or just sharing something from my own life, or self-disclosure, I call it. So yes, I do. I do.
These are some really great questions. Thank you, audience. Keep them coming. So share with us, Wilma, just generally speaking, a couple of you shared one success story where the woman came in and didn't believe her life could change in 6 months, and in a year saw a substantial amount of change. Are there a couple other stories that you can generally share with us that people can connect with to see how they could benefit from life coaching?
Oh, absolutely. I had another client who had her mom died. And I am a spiritual life coach, so I'll use a combination of tools. But one thing I do is work and tune into my client, and I customize my coaching centered around my client. So I don't have one set formula. So I had a woman, several, but I had one woman who her mom had died. And when she came to me, and that's rather personal for me because my mom died in 2006. So a woman or a person doesn't have to say anything more to me than my mom has died, and immediately I connect to them. And so the work that we did for releasing the grief, and she told me, you are what I prayed for because you were my last step. You were my last hope. She said, I've been to fortune tellers, I've been to psychics, and even at my church, my pastor, I love my pastor, but I needed something more. And we worked through that, and it was amazing. It was amazing. I had another woman who suffered a death every 2 years. And so I had a grief coach. It was called The Other Side of Grief, a grief workshop. And that was a group. And she had been holding the ashes from her dead cat for like 5 years. And she told me, this has helped me so much. I never thought that I would be able to do that. So especially when I'm doing grief in some part of my coaching, there's a technique that I invented, I came up with, and I use that with my coaching, and it helps tremendously. It's just, it has helped me tremendously through the years. In my coaching, in my grief work, it's just helped me tremendously.
What would you say are the three most common subjects that you have encountered that women in particular need help with?
Wow, a big one is grief. Number one is grief. And it could be not grief from the loss of a loved one, but grief from the loss of love. Grief, emotional pain, and that's still grief. The second one is personal growth and awareness. So I would say grief, personal growth and awareness, and with some of them, it's alignment of their energy systems, because some of them have just been unaligned and have been hurt in love, and they're just like, how can I move forward? How can I move forward? So I'd say love, grief, releasing, letting go, and personal growth and awareness.
So offer us, I have grief, personal growth, love, and awareness. Offer us some fun things that women can do to overcome some of those things, the grief, the personal growth, and the love issues.
Okay, well, first of all, because I know you said this is your month and fun is the word, I would say number one is have some sort of spiritual connectedness. If it's spiritual or it's religious, some way to connect. I always tell people, for me personally, I have to plug into something that's bigger than myself, because you cannot handle it alone. Plug into God or whatever your spiritual awareness is. Tap into something that's bigger than yourself, because sometimes my battery really runs low. And when I'm plugged in, which is all the time, that helps a lot. And that's start your day. When you wake up, start your day in gratitude and love, And a second thing, well, third, I would say forgiveness. Forgive yourself for the things you didn't do, the things you didn't say, because a lot of times we're very mental and we think about, I should have said this or I should have done that. Forgive yourself. Let that go. Forgiveness, having some laughter in your life. Relax a little bit, I would say. Sometimes women talk to me about going on retreats, or some of them can't afford it. Create a staycation at home, pamper yourself, love yourself, because that's where it all begins, with the intimacy. Into me, I see. So in order having fun, sometimes put down your bags that you're carrying. But really forgiving yourself and starting some sort of, or having a spiritual practice, something that can help you get grounded. and just release and let some of that go. And when you let it go, don't try to pick it back up.
Absolutely, absolutely. What are some things that women can do with each other as sister friends to support one another through these situations, the grief, the personal growth, and love? Like you said, I love the staycation. I love that because so many people feel like they have to have a lot of money to go somewhere in order to make themselves feel better. So what are some things as a coach that you would suggest that they could do in a staycation state of being with themselves or a gathering of others?
Okay, well, first of all, in staycation, let me say this first and foremost, because this is what comes up for me. When you are with a group of your sisters, one mouth, two ears, listen twice as much as you talk. Or as someone once said to me, Coach Wilma, I love it. You are quick to listen and slow to speak. First of all, stop giving advice. That would be my first thing. If you're with a group of your sister friends, I have a woman who's a friend of mine, and she's in a book club. And these are some of the most judgmental women I know. You know, they're telling her what to do. Well, you need to do this, you need to do that. Strike what you need to do from your vocabulary and listen. I would say if you're in a group with sisters, number one, forgive. Number two, listen. But you know what? Set the intention to listen wholeheartedly, not just to hear, but listen and hear. You know, because a lot of times we're thinking when the other person is talking, we're thinking about what we want to say. So just stop that and just be present with them. Okay? Listen to them. Don't judge them. Listen with love. You know, because as sisters, we have to love each other more and not be so harsh. You know, because your sister is your mirror, not being so harsh. And you know, if there's something that you have to say, tell the truth. Tell the microscopic truth, but I tell people with the highest form of love. But tell the truth with love. Support them. Support them, and I'd say if you're going to be in a sister circle, have the sisters back, and sometimes just do something nice for each other, even if it's something small. Give flowers, say some kind words, and just tell that person, you know, I love you. I appreciate your presence in my life. Now for staycation. If you're on a staycation, and I love staycations. I love vacation. I love staycation because for me, wherever you go, there you are. Okay, so on staycation, sometimes go to your favorite place, your favorite spot. There's some places here in Baltimore that are juice bars, vegan spots. You know, I have field trips. I'll just take a field trip when I'm on staycation, or just take a field trip. Or sometimes I go into the mountains in the Shenandoah. I just drive because driving is cathartic for me. So I change my scenery, and even if it's just for the day. And I like baths, candlelit baths, and maybe with some aromatherapy oils. Relax, sleep in. There are times that on staycation I disconnect from Facebook, clients, and just sleep in and relax, and then just do whatever you feel like doing, you know, and do it for a couple of days. And just do whatever is nurturing for your own soul. Have another question. How do we change the way we feel that's embedded in our hearts? Now, changing the way you feel or shifting that or working through that, I'm not really sure what exactly we mean by that. So let me go with anger. So if you're angry and you feel like something is embedded in your heart, you know, sometimes you can take both hands and put them on your heart and just say, I love you. I love you. And feel the warmth of the energy flow through that. That means a lot. Just it's acknowledging the love that is within you. But remember the love. And change, the first step, like I said, is acknowledgement and wanting that. Because as you say, something is embedded in you. It's something that you're holding on to. Because that's not what we're born with. We're not born to be angry. That's something that we've picked up along the way. And just making peace, you know, within yourself and forgiving yourself. and making peace and just remembering the love.
That is beautiful. Yes, that's a beautiful thing to be reminded of. Is going back to being loving and remembering that we really was born with love versus anything outside of it. And we have learned along the way things that allow us to operate outside of love, and we pick that up and embed it in our heart. So that was a great feedback or great answer to that question, Wilma. So how often do you do your sister circles? Do you do them both virtually and physically, or just physically? And how often do you do them?
They're just physically, and the first one started last year, and I do them once a month. And there were two, and after a couple of women dropped it, I combined the two to one because it was so much. But I find that doing it, I've never thought of virtually. I usually do it physically because whatever comes up, I work through that. And each month we focus on something different. So it's empowering. And they're teaching me, and I'm teaching them, but they're empowering, and we have worked through forgiveness. I had one woman in my circle who had an ex-boyfriend who was awful to her. And, she came to the circle one day and she said, I want to do something illegal, because I really want to get him. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And we worked through that. I mean, because she was angry, but we worked through that. But also, everything in the circle is confidential, and she knew the sisters in the circle, the women formed bonds, and they had each other's backs, but we worked through that. Because I do sometimes use meditation big time. Prayer, meditation, those are some of the tools I use, but we worked through that. And she left that circle that day knowing that it was best to make another choice, but we worked through that. We did.
Are you available to travel upon request to come and speak to groups or do individual coaching?
Oh, absolutely. I do. I do motivational speaking. I do group coaching, and sometimes I do travel to groups. I do. I do.
Tell us again what your website is so that people can come and follow you. I know you do a blog. Let us know how often you put your blogs out and just how people can contact you.
Absolutely. My blog is blog.fullbloomservices, which is updated weekly. And the blog is great because it's always about something different. The last couple of weeks, I've been talking about my journey into becoming vegan. So it's kind of like how it all began. I also have a newsletter that comes out monthly. It's great. Subscription is growing. And you can subscribe to that from my website, www.fullbloomservices.com. And you can subscribe. I am also on Facebook, Full Bloom Services. And there's a button where you can subscribe to my newsletter there. And I'm also on Twitter, and Twitter is @fullbloominfo. And then my email is wilma@fullbloomservices.com. So yes, those are all the ways we can connect and that you can reach out to me and get a hold of me. I do respond to my email.
Do you work with men as well, or just primarily women?
I primarily work with women, primarily. And thank you for asking that, because people ask that all the time, and especially women, when they leave the circle and they're talking about it on their jobs, men are like, wow, well, does she work with men? And we'd like to have something like that. So I'm sorry, at this time I'm primarily working with women.
Do you work with couples at all?
I do. I have a question. What does the accountability process look like for someone who is changing their diet? Good question. I would say the accountability process looks like being honest with yourself, number one. Being true to what it is that you say you want. And let's look at what you have been doing. Number one, you're going to have to forgive yourself for that. And when you've decided or really made a choice that, okay, I'm going to change my diet, that's going to take willpower, but also set some intentions, meaning what you want to experience and what you want to do. There's a saying, he who fails to plan plans to fail. So not saying you have to have a full plan, but let's have some steps in place. Number one, I'm changing my diet. What am I changing to? What are some things I'm going to want to eat? Can I include that in that? You want to set yourself up for success, and then what happens if I do this? So set yourself up for success.
That was another awesome question. Accountability is important across the board. The change in your diet one is a big one, but what are a couple other accountability processes that are common in life coaching?
Some other common ability. Okay. Well, one of the things I have is for people to hold them to the intention. What is it that you say you really want? Because I hold them accountable to what they say it is that they want. Excuse me. And so that's one of the processes, to remind them, what is it that you say you want to experience? Okay, this is what we want to experience. But also, if you do not do that, there's something in place like, okay, well, what happens if you don't? If you don't hold up to what you're saying that you want to experience. And so there's always a penalty. Like, okay, so let's say, you want to experience drinking 6 glasses of water a day because you only drink 2. So it's like, okay, well, what happens if you don't? And we talk about that because there has to be an incentive in place to make you want to, but also if you decide not to. So we talk about that with my clients. For example, I had a client who was having trouble filling out a certain application. So one of the things was, I knew she didn't like getting up in the morning. So it's like, okay, well, if you can't get that filled out, then every morning for a week, we will be up at 4 a.m. and I want you to tell me why you couldn't get it done. So she said to me, wow, Coach Wilma, after it was done, she said, I really don't like getting up. I really didn't want to do that. And so that helped to motivate me to complete it. So I work with my clients to find out, okay, what is it that you don't want to do? But first, your desire to succeed has to be greater than your desire to want to, like, cheat out or just to not.
Most people think of life coaching as just a conversation between the client and the coach. What other, I know that you're more spiritually grounded in your coaching, what other modalities do you sometimes offer the client in your coaching processes?
Oh, absolutely. There is grounding. There is chakra, well, the chakras, the energy fields. There's chakra clearing and chakra cleansing. And as I said, I'm an intuitive. Well, not so much intuitive. I'm a clairvoyant. So let me just tell the truth. I'm clairvoyant, clairaudient, and clairsentient, meaning I see, I hear, I feel. So that's one of the tools that we use. But I help people to develop their own process, which is the greatest thing, because some people want to experience a deeper connection in their spiritual life, their prayer life. So we do that. I do a lot of cleansing, clearing, balancing. Those are some of the things. And Reiki, I'm a Reiki practitioner, which is similar to healing touch. And so these are some of the modalities that are used.
Could you share with our audience some information about chakras? What is the chakra energy center? What are some of the chakras, and what are they connected to that helps you help the client evolve?
Wow, that's a lot. So I'm going to try to sum it up. Chakra is a Sanskrit word, and it's like the wheels, and they spin usually clockwise, representing the energy outside of our body. And the colors are I remember this. It's the color spectrum of the rainbow. I don't know, in school I learned, I remember Roy G. Biv. If you look at the light bulb or you look at the rainbow, there's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Now, there are more than 7 chakras, but there are only 7 that we talk about. And so they're like the red, which is the root. And oftentimes when a chakra is out, an area is out of alignment, that area, the person may be experiencing some illness or some area in their life in that system not working well. For example, the root. The root chakra is red, and that's a feeling of grounding, survival, finance. And sometimes a person may be constipated in their diet, so we're constipated, and we'll talk about some of the other red things going on. And it's like, oh, but there doesn't always have to be a physical manifestation. Because a lot of time with women, there's in the orange section, that's the sacral section, and that's a huge one. There are fibroids. A lot of women. Fibroids are like an epidemic. And a lot of it is diet, but there's body, mind, and spirit. And sometimes I once had a woman who was harboring so much anger. I was doing a Reiki share. And when I got there, that area, like right in that area, it was on fire. And I said that to her, and she said, well, I had gotten a sexually transmitted disease from my boyfriend, and it's cured, but I still felt the fire and the anger. And so, like, belly dancing is good to move that area of energy around. There's so much, but it's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, when we talk about the crown chakra. And a lot of times that's how we hear spirit, is that block and what's going on. And in the center of the brow, we have that, which is called like the third eye. And so to make it sound more subtle for people, I usually tell them that's your intuition center. This is how you see and what's going on, because sometimes those centers are blocked. Because I had a woman once tell me, oh, I used to be able to intuit things, and I can't. And so we did work with that in the circle, and I opened that area up, and she was flowing like a wizard. Just going through. And so I work with those areas. I do.
Thank you for sharing that information. The Red Panty Society is basically built to inform and educate and empower women to align our chakra centers, starting with the first one, which is the root chakra, and it's red. And I'm looking forward to hosting future workshops and seminars that give more information about how we can become more intimately involved with ourselves and use our inner tools and gain some outer wisdom to be able to better heal ourselves. And so I'm looking forward to having you participate in future Into Me I See or intimacy retreats as we plan them down the road. But thank you for giving that introduction to the energy centers and the body. Well, we're going to go ahead and begin to wrap up this conversation as the questions have slowed down a bit. What is it that you would like our listening audience to know about you as a life coach?
About me. One thing, coaches come sometimes now, almost a dime a dozen. So the one thing I like to say, because people always ask me if they don't know me until they experience me, what makes you unique? Number one, I do love the people. I've dealt with trauma. I've worked as a firefighter. I've worked as a firefighter and a counselor in a crisis hotline, and also a peer counselor for intervention. So I have a lot of experience with trauma that has helped me in my life, but in coaching. Our experiences make us who we are. One thing is, I'm honest. I'm going to tell you the truth, but being able to laser to the heart of the matter. Like, I have little little quotes that I love. Like when I do the root chakra, I'll just say, well, let's get to the root of the matter. So with coaching, I laser right to the heart of your matter. We're going to get there. And that's one thing that I do. And just, I show up and I have the presence. And if I touch your life, it's going to blossom, bringing you into bloom, because that's what I do, it's what I believe in, and that is my brand. So I have another question too. Share some more with us about things like belly dancing that help us, and why does that? Because that sounds like fun. Belly dancing is fun, and sometimes we just have to get the cobwebs out. The belly dancing helps that energy area, and it helps to get moving, and it helps to release that. I would also say dancing. One thing I love salsa dancing. I love dancing, period. But dancing, anything that gets you moving for fun. And exercise is great too, because I exercise and I love to exercise. But I find that dancing is great. Belly dancing is great. Laughter. Please go see like a funny movie, a comedy, and just laughter. Laughter is so good for the soul. Reading, but do some things that you love, things that you enjoy. A walk in nature, or just things that you enjoy, but things that bring you joy in your life. Now, the next question, I have had anxiety attacks before. What can I do to prevent or stop an attack? I don't want to do medicine, and I want to manage it, just not have any anxiety issues. I don't know fully what's going on, so I'm going to just give some general statements. A lot of time we have anxiety because anxiety will sometimes go hand to hand with perfection. Sometimes if we cannot be perfect, there's a lot of anxiety. Sometimes we have anxiety in social settings. One of the first things I tell people is, and I learned this from my teacher, take a breath and heal yourself. But take a breath and heal your life. Because sometimes when I experience people who are having high anxiety, I usually tell them, okay, listen to me. Don't listen to anything else. Just hear the sound of my voice. Now breathe. And if they're having trouble, I usually take them by the hand and ask them if it's okay. And look at me. Breathe. Because sometimes they want to take their minds off that anxiety, but I would say breathe. And sometimes I will have them, if I am not with them and they are alone, to just touch your heart or pat your heart with like your 4 fingers and breathe. I'm safe. I'm okay. I'm safe. And I have found that technique helps a lot. Just taking your 4 fingers, patting in the center of your chest and breathing. It's okay. I'm safe. I'm safe. Those are some things that really help naturally.
Again, you're just such an amazing life coach, and those awesome, awesome answers are helpful. Helpful to our audience. I hope they were helpful to the individuals who asked the questions. I want to thank our listening audience for participating and for submitting your questions. I hope that we encourage and empower you to return to these conversations. We are beginning to have these conversations every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. In the same manner, you can either go to our website, www.theredpantysociety.org, and click on the blue arrow next to Let's Talk Red every Sunday at 7 p.m. and come right into the conversation. Or you can click on our social media links that give you the direct link to the conversation. Each of our Let's Talk Red series are recorded, so you can always return back to the archived recording via YouTube and watch them if you weren't able to watch or participate in the conversation live. And we are excited and looking forward to these web series growing in a way that we can really get educate our community overall. I'm just a national community that is interested in some fun ways or some great suggestions on how we can take our lives to the next level. I want to thank you again, audience, for participating tonight, and I definitely want to thank you, Coach Wilma Lee, for just being such an amazing facilitator this evening on Let's Talk Red. I really, really enjoyed this conversation.
I want to thank you for having me. And there's one thing that it's incumbent upon me to say, and this has come up for me. So I want to say this first of all. Thank you for opening the door to this conversation because we need that. And I have a message, especially I want to give to Black women. You know, when people say, I'm not my brother's keeper, well, I am my sister's keeper. We are all sisters. And we have to love and forgive our sisters. But first and foremost, we have to love and forgive ourselves. That is your sister. Take her hand. And if you cannot, bless her, not curse her, bless her and move forward. Sometimes we're not ready. And so, it's like, you know what, bless you. Bless them and keep it moving. So, there we are. Because at the end of the day, all there is love. All there is love. And if you're carrying around that anger, how can you be more loving? Look at what's coming up in your life and look at who shows up. Are there people who are angry often or people who are loving? Because that's our lives are a mirror of what's going on in our heads. So what you're thinking is manifested by what's coming up in your world. So please, just apply the application of love to your life. And I promise you, you will see a shift.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Tell our audience one more time how they can contact you via your website, your social media handles, and we are going to leave this conversation this week in love.
Absolutely. So Full Bloom Services, you can reach me at www.fullbloomservices.com. My Twitter is @fullbloominfo. My blog is blog.fullbloomservices.com. And my email, wilma@fullbloominfo.com. So please reach out. Subscribe to my newsletter. I mean, it's amazing. I get wonderful feedback. It comes out once a month. It's free. And the readership is growing. So I just want to say, reach out to me. I answer emails. And just visit my pages. As like I said on Facebook, I'm Full Bloom Services on Facebook. So thank you. It's been an honor and a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. So that concludes this week's conversation here on Let's Talk Red, and we hope to see you same time next week at 7 p.m. and our next Let's Talk Red series. Thank you and have a great night. In love. Fun is love. Love is fun. Have it all.
Exactly.